So if you have passionate teachers who enjoy interacting with students, who want to help them, that really provides a very nurturing environment. I would call parents and say, Vanessa just got 98 on a test. I am so excited. So I wanted to infect my students with this positive energy.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Vicaria, aka The Math Guru, and you're listening to Math Therapy, a podcast that helps guests work through their math traumas one problem at a time. Whether you think you're a math person or not, you're about to find out that math people don't actually exist, but the scars that math class left on many of us definitely do. Oh, and don't worry, no calculators or actual math were involved in the making of this podcast. Oh my God, welcome to this week of Math Therapy, and seriously, do I have a treat for you. Okay, you guys know how I never shut the fuck up about the fact that I failed grade 11 math twice before meeting a teacher who would forever change my life? Well, I'm about to talk to that teacher. I am not kidding. Ewa Kasinska was not only my high school math teacher and mentor, but she became a close friend. For real, we made Christmas crafts together every year. It's a thing. Like any good teacher, Ewa was very prepared for our interview, kind of too prepared, to be honest. And she totally shocked me with a blast from my educational past. Just you wait. She also shared her tips for how to draw in even the most disengaged math students. She is truly amazing, and I wouldn't be who I am today without her. So let's do it. Ewa, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
I know, I kind of feel bad that it has taken 3 seasons to put you on the podcast, so please accept my apology.
Apology accepted. Thank you for inviting me, because it is truly my pleasure to be here and to still be part of your incredible math journey.
Okay, well, I want to honestly start. It's so funny because I was looking over these questions and I was I don't think I've directly asked you any of these questions. We're just colleagues and friends now. I still call you and ask you advice every month, at least, at minimum. But, we don't actually talk about how this all began. So I am very interested to just start by asking you, do you remember meeting me? And you can say no, I'm not going to be offended. You had thousands of students, maybe. I don't know. That might be a big number, but I think so.
Yes, I've probably had that many, but of course I remember. I remember meeting you. I remember your attitude right away.
Oh,
yeah.
What was that? What was it?
Well, you were a very confident young woman who was new to the school and just decided to approach me and, give me her own opinion of herself.
Did I do that? So I'm not making that up, because I was what if I'm making this all up? Did I? What did I say? You don't have to remember the exact words.
Well, the message was, I hate math, so there, deal with it. And that was, in essence, what you told me. And I took that on as a challenge. And I think we both sort of started off trying to challenge each other, where you were going to prove to me that this is all useless, and I was trying to draw you in and give you opportunities to come to your senses and realize that you are more than capable of doing well. But I want to share a surprise I have for you, because it's been many years since.
Oh my God, wait, what? I feel this is the Ellen show. What do you mean a surprise? What?
Yeah, I have some, just wait, okay? Be patient for a second.
Hot.
Yes, good. So, because I had to refresh my own memory, because it's been X years, I found some original documents to support our conversation.
Oh my God.
I have some high school progress notes and report cards, which I don't own, but guess what? Your parents were complicit in this, and they shared their family archives with me.
Wait, what? Guys, I feel freaked out. This is crazy. Yeah. I feel you've been chatting with them? Okay.
I know your parents, right? We do interact. So just be quiet now for a while. Pretend you're in class. Your teacher told you to shush. So I am reading, and I can then share the original document with you, or better, your parents can share it with you. So this is a progress note I wrote to you as halfway through the course you were taking with me. Vanessa has been working at a uniquely high level in this course, obtaining consistent scores of 100% on quizzes and above 95% on tests and the midterm exam. This stellar performance deserves the highest words of praise. I am proud of Vanessa's achievement and wish her continued motivation and success. Her enthusiasm is inspirational to her classmates and a true asset to the daily lessons. Congratulations, Vanessa.
Okay, I'm literally crying.
Okay,
What?
wait, that's not all. Because not only did I write this paragraph, there were this is before the days of learning skills on report cards as we have them now, but because it was a progress note, it broke down various categories. Aptitude, excellent, ha. Homework, excellent. Test results, excellent. Attendance, very good. Oral participation, very good. Assignment results, excellent. Conduct, good.
What? What does that mean?
Well, what do I remember? I think you were just a bit of a shit disturber in class occasionally, and I think that's why you couldn't score very good or excellent in conduct.
What?
But skill development was excellent. And all of this, so your mark was 98% at that point, while the class average was 63. So slightly above class average is where you placed.
I'm actually glad you gave context for those people who are going to say, oh, you went to an alternative school, all the grades are inflated.
No.
Because that's not what the school was
and
like.
That's why class average is important, because it puts your mark in perspective. No, not everybody got an A. There are many schools where that happens, but that's not the school you attended. That's not the school where I taught. So
this is crazy. This is so crazy. I don't even I really feel so emotional right now. I mean, yeah, you're making me feel famous. Like the fact that you went behind the scenes, talked to my parents, are here shocking me with a surprise. Like this happens on Oprah. So
absolutely. And, parents hold on to these things. So I knew where to search for the originals. But you asked me what I remember about you as a student. So clearly you became a stellar student in math in no time. But you were not the math activist you became later. So another reminder, and this I dug up in my own archives from the yearbook, in your graduating high school year, you did not get the math award, sadly. But
no, but you remember why? Because it was a math and science award. I remember being really we were both you weren't annoyed. I was I should have gotten the math award, but they clumped it with math and science and I didn't take any sciences.
I know. That math and science award was named after my grandmother. But so it's a long story. Yeah, it's all in the family. My grandmother was the first woman to enroll in the Faculty of Natural Sciences at the University of Geneva in 1914. But then, something like World War I happened. So school shut down. So sort of similar to what we have today. School shut down. They didn't have internet. So she had to go back home. Anyhow. So back to Vanessa in her graduating year of high school, did not get the math award. Instead, she got the French language award and the visual art award.
Right.
So we're talking about Vanessa, who was getting stellar, perfect marks in math, who decides not to pursue math per se at university, but goes off to do a marketing degree or something like that.
Well, and that is very much because I actually did not know that university applications were due. I guess maybe this is part of my conduct. And I remember, we had that booklet, you didn't do it online. You had a physical book.
Right.
Right. And I didn't know, I was I have to hand something in. So I quickly went through the book and I just checked off a bunch of stuff that said marketing because I thought in my mind that marketing was the same as what we now call graphic design. And I was it'll be designing ads. And I just threw it in. So I was art, whatever, businessy art. My thought was, now that I can do math, maybe that means I can do something businessy, which means maybe I can combine art with it. Except that this marketing degree had nothing to do with art literally at all, which I was shocked to discover when I landed up in university. Okay, we need to back up because I always try and describe this school, and the way I describe it, I think is probably not full picture. I think I'm doing a disservice by not explaining why this school was so instrumental in changing not only my life, but the lives of students, because I think that education as a whole has a lot to learn from this model. And the model isn't just, we call teachers by their first names. There's more to it than that. So what would you say is the main difference?
the way I saw it, and I was, just for anybody who's listening, I was at that school from the day it was first opened to the day it closed its doors. So I was there through all the phases, through smaller and larger enrollment, and I saw the school evolve. I think the main thing is that having smaller class sizes allows for much closer interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, students called teachers on a first name basis, but we were not all hippies. I certainly never was a hippie or aspired. Did some teachers, we did have one staff member who went to Woodstock, and that's the only human being I know who went there, and he taught with us. So, of course, there you go, hippie galore. But not all of our staff were hippies. So I think what made the school unique is that all of us who taught loved our subject matter. We became teachers because we wanted to be teachers, and we were all extremely passionate about the subjects that we taught to our students. Remember, I also taught Spanish, and you were part of that class. And that was a huge fun and game time for me. So I think being passionate about your subject makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
But not only did we care about our subjects, we liked interacting with the students. A private school has that ability to sort of filter out staff who perhaps don't have that personality. Like in any profession, there are people who are more engaged and less engaged in what they do. I mean, just as human beings, that's how we are. And we know how impressionable young people are. Whether they're 7 years old or 17-year-old, the teacher's attitude rubs off on the students. So if you have passionate teachers who enjoy interacting with students, who want to help them, that really provides a very nurturing environment.
Well, what do you think? Because for one of the main things I remember is like obviously those things, but I remember there being a very different feeling in the air. And I'll tell you what it is. And this is why I bring up the like, oh, we call teachers by their first names. Mm-hmm. I feel like we weren't treated like kids, right? Like it's like sure we were, but there was a mutual respect there. So I feel this is going to sound silly, but I want everyone to keep in mind that this was a long time ago. The fact that we had smoke breaks. I mean, it wasn't like go outside and smoke.
We didn't have smoke breaks. Don't you bring that up, because in terms of the track record, which teacher suspended the most kids for smoking, sadly or gladly, that was me. So no, you did not have smoke
Okay,
breaks.
let me say it this way. There was a recognition that students needed time between classes.
It was not for smoking. So I'm sorry. This is how kids like to portray it. And in a moment, you're going to tell me there were ashtrays in the classroom. No. Okay? Forget it.
Fine. Okay, fine. Let me start again. Forget the break thing. Forget smoking. I would say there was a recognition that we were teenagers and the topics brought up in class, for example, like when we were doing like, I can just remember like my English class or my art, like an art class was a great example where we had free reign to explore our talents. Like I remember my art project I did was completely different than someone else's. So like we were given more autonomy and trust with the accountability to like explore what was interesting to us within the confines of the curriculum.
Absolutely. And so this, I can allow that being said, this shows teachers who knew enough about their subject to understand that reaching beyond, first of all, they have to know their subject, be confident, because they knew how to guide students who were pushing boundaries. They knew how to promote that. And yes, there was conversation on many levels in the classroom. I will tell you, this is before your times, because it was in a different physical location that we were at that point, where one of my students in the middle of grade 11 math says, Eva, I've been working at Shoppers Drug Mart now for 2 months, and the other day I was stacking the shelves with feminine hygiene products, and I don't get it. Why are there so many different types of tampons? So he brings this up in the middle of a grade 11 math class, at which point I say, okay, girls, each one of you go dig out of your purse what you have. And we did a demonstration in class. We had beakers from the science lab. We poured water in, and we put different tampons to see the absorbance. And so we had a full health and sex ed lesson in the middle of grade 11 math class. So that's the type of conversation students were felt confident enough to bring up. And the teachers, I'm not the only one, but obviously I'm using my own example, were not embarrassed to discuss it, did not shush him or tell him, ask your mother. No, we dealt with it on the spot. And I think that made the students feel much more willing to come to class. They were willing to do the math and at the same time just deal with any life questions they had. A lot of our students, and you're a prime example of that, were students who were very intellectually capable, but somehow not motivated, not engaged, be it in the big public schools or the big traditional uniform private schools. Mm-hmm. And they thrived in this alternate setting. So how many students can say they did an experiment about tampon absorbency in grade 11 math?
Yeah.
Probably not that many. And I obviously still remember the name of that fellow who asked me that question because I thought, why not? Let's do it. Let's teach them. It's a teaching moment.
Well, this is so funny because now I'm remembering we did something similar because I became obsessed with the second cup coffee lids versus the Starbucks lids because there was a rim on one of them. And I was like, this is so fucking annoying. And everyone in class was like, we were like, let's figure out what the dimensions are for the ideal sip from a coffee cup. Like I actually now, this memory just came to light right now. And we brought in the different cups and we were measuring them. I don't even know if we did it like in class time. I actually think we did this on our spare time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we were like, we need to figure this out. So that's actually so cool. And okay, so it's funny. Like I tell everyone, when I tell the story, I say, and then I said to you, I'm not a math person. And you were like, there's no such thing as a math person. And I don't know that that actually happened. But something about that school and definitely about you was that there was not this overt divide between the types of people who are good at different things. So like there were, for context, anyone who's listening, there were only like 100 kids in the whole school at the time. So it wasn't the type of things where there was like cliques, like there was like the chess club and the cheerleaders. It wasn't like that. There were 100 people. We all got along. We all respected each other. And there was no like, I never got this idea from you that because I was good at visual art, that I couldn't also be good at math. Like that narrative did not exist. So I think while you may have not said the words to me, there's no such thing as a math person, I could feel from you that you didn't have that idea that I could only be good at one thing. And that's what allowed me actually to open myself up to succeeding. But I actually do want to know your views. I mean, we've never explicitly talked about it, but do you think that like there are certain types of people who can't do math?
No, first of all, while I don't like the label, I would say that we're all math people because we all use math every day. Now, do we all use limits of multifunction variables? No, but every single human being that does something during their day in life uses math. Money. Who doesn't think about money daily? Everybody. There you go. We're using arithmetic. The example you and I use for encouraging kids, cooking in the kitchen, adjusting dimensions, adjusting quantities, ratios, proportions. So we are all math people. But does that mean that we all love higher math? No.
Right.
Does that mean we all have to love higher math? Just like, no, that's okay. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. But for some reason, math is surrounded by this shroud of negative feelings, these vibes, these scary vibes. And why? I wish there was an easy answer. I mean, we've got psychologists, educators, economists trying to understand those reasons.
So when you set out to become a teacher, did you like set out to change people's relationships in math?
Well, no, that was not my goal. My goal was much more modest. I pretty much always knew I wanted to be a teacher. With the advent of social media, I reconnected with some childhood friends and, what are you doing? What are you doing in adult life? And they said, well, of course we knew you'd be a teacher. You always said you'd be a teacher. So
really,
I had that desire in me. But when I started teaching, I promised myself that I would give myself a few years to realize and I promised myself to try to be as objective as possible, to see if I'm one of those teachers who are a joke that nobody listens to and, they stand at the front of the board and nobody knows, what they're talking about, or whether I will be able to connect with the students. And I always knew I wanted to teach high school, so teenagers. And So I wanted to be an engaging teacher. And so gradually, as I got more confident as a teacher, I realized there are ways in which I can tweak my methodology to reach kids better, to help them. But one of the things I noticed already as I was doing my practicum during my university years is that I was able to ask good questions. When you're teaching math, there's one thing to be able to explain, show an example. But if you just do it as a demonstration, you lose the audience. Because let's face it, kids will drift off. And, I was fortunate that most of my teaching years was done before kids had a phone in their pocket. So the ability to get distracted was a little more controlled by me. But you have to engage the audience. And how do you engage a classroom full of teenagers who really would rather not be there, regardless of the subject? And that is to keep questions bouncing back and forth. And being able to ask these scaffolded, incremental, tiny questions so that I don't just stand there and saying, and now you do this, and now you do this, and do you understand? Yeah. Like, you often bring up the idea that media portrays math as something not accessible to girls or to students of color. I've listened to your podcast. To me, media shows teachers as absolute morons. And
it's so true, actually. You're right. And they're just like lecturing.
Yeah, they're just standing there with this boring monotone voice and they don't want to be there. So I feel like shaking that up.
Actually, you know what? You're right. I never focus on the perception of teachers in the media. And that is actually a big reason why teachers are seen as jokes sometimes.
Exactly. So I was not a joke. I hope not. That's for you to judge. But that was
hilarious. You make jokes.
Amazing ones. And keeping the conversation going. So that taught me, the more questions I asked, the more I got the students drawn in. And that taught me how to be a motivating teacher.
Oh my God. I love it. That was like such great advice for anyone listening. And also, yeah, such a call out to media as well. I'm going to start making a scene about that too, because that is actually so true. Okay, we're unfortunately running out of time, which is really sad. But I want to ask you this. Like, I remember, obviously at the school we were at, like you said, we were having real life conversations, and often real life came into the math classroom, and you were more than just a teacher. Obviously, you were like a human being person who I really admired and who I looked to as like, I obviously still do. But did you consider any of what you were doing to be kind of like math therapy? And did that ever occur to you?
Well, I don't think I would have described it that way. But I really wanted, I would get excited when a student would get a question right. I would jump up. I would applaud. I remember marking students' tests, and I was compulsive about marking them the same day because I knew the students were anxious to know their feedback. So I would call parents in the evening and say, Vanessa just got 98 on a test. I am so excited. Like, I wanted to share the news. So I wanted to infect my students with this positive energy.
And you did. You really did. I remember you non-violently, everyone, but you would like walk around the class like smacking desks with a meter stick when you were just like really excited, or like so excited that you wanted us to shut up. So probably me.
Please stress that I was smacking desks, not students.
The desks. Yes, for emphasis. Okay, so I have to ask the final two questions. Now, the first question is, what would you say to someone who doesn't think they're a math person? But you've kind of answered that, so I kind of want to change it to, what would you say to someone who's like really struggling in class? Like, I'm sure over the years, obviously, you've dealt with students who just like, despite your best efforts, aren't really doing so great and feel shitty about themselves. Like, what's your strategy, like, for other teachers to know? Like, what do you do?
Well, part of it is for the student to gain enough confidence to ask questions. And for teenagers who are very self-conscious, to raise their hand in class, that's often a hurdle they're not willing to handle, to do it in real time in the classroom. So do they have the motivation to seek that help after school? Because drowning in that pool of negative feelings is not going to change the situation.
Right.
I mean, they have to get through 3 years of high school math, and that requirement's not going away. So they have to learn how to ask somebody for help. Asking even a good friend, a classmate, outside of class time is also a possibility. But that's only in high school. Younger students working with other kids, that's a little tricky. It's harder for them to explain and support each other. But just
what if someone's like, what if a kid is just like, yeah, Eva, you know what? Like, I've tried so hard. I've done all these things. I'm only getting a 60. I guess I'm just dumb and not good at math. Like, how would you respond to that? Like, aside from being like, you know what I mean? Because I know we don't have the exact same viewpoint, but like, how do you because I'm always concerned with kids carrying that into adulthood, this feeling of like stupidity.
Well, that is unfortunate. And that one of the reasons why there are different tiers of math in high school for students who are otherwise intellectually very capable of moving on to university is to give them that chance of feeling better about themselves. So there's no shame in doing grade 10 applied math versus grade 10 academic math. There is a very good reason why those courses exist. Sadly, in many of the large schools, those courses become the hub of the kids with behavioral issues. But that's a whole separate issue.
So true.
But students need to find somebody who can help them. And that help can be their classroom teacher. But they need to have the energy to ask for that help, because it is discouraging to get 50s and 60s, even though you're putting your time in. And there's some disconnect. Is it a buildup and a backlog of past skills, or is it inability to study effectively?
But I think that's really the crux of it, is like knowing a teacher believes in you. Like even just saying like, look, I believe in you, but you need to be motivated to do this, or you need to ask other people. I think that's already a huge step that maybe you're not realizing that you've already taken, right? It's like most teachers actually don't phrase it that way. Most teachers will, not most, okay, you know what? Not most, but I know teachers who will say, you know what? Don't worry about math. It's just not your thing. And it's like, that's what I think is the discouraging piece. It's not discouraging to hear, look, you have the ability to do well, but you've got to put in more effort or you have to get help. Then it's up to the kid to say, you know what? I don't actually care. And then you don't feel so discouraged and like, quote unquote, stupid. You're just like, I'm making the choice to not even really focus on this and to be fine with my 60, as opposed to being told by someone else, you actually can't do it, so don't even try. And that's why I think you're great. Like, you would never do that.
No, that's a very damaging attitude. Many students don't know how to do and how to study math effectively.
Yes.
And that's something they need guidance with. And perhaps that's not happening in the classroom. Maybe they're tuning out because they hate it. They come in with a negative attitude. So they just sort of filter anything that's being said. Maybe a good message is being transmitted, but it's not reaching them because they've already gone into shutdown mode.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, final question is, what would you change about the way math is taught in school? Like, if you could pick one thing.
Ooh, well, this is beyond the scope of our limited time in this interview. Different changes for different parts, like grades of our education system. So to put out, you asked for one, I'm going to give you two. Just deal with it. In elementary schools, I really feel we need math teachers. A lot of the teachers who are elementary school teachers are wonderful educators, and they are beautifully creative in many areas of the curriculum, but they're not confident and they're anxious about math. Why subject the kids to that? Why not have, just like we have a French teacher come in, we all acknowledge that the homeroom teacher doesn't necessarily have to be well-versed enough in French to be able to be their French teacher. So we could just switch it up and have a math teacher come in starting, I don't know, grade 3, grade 4, depending on the setting. I think that would make a huge difference. An elementary specialist math teacher.
I love that. I totally agree with that. I've been saying that ever since you even planted that idea in my head. I think that's...
I might have planted it. I do feel responsible for that. For high school, a different approach. I think if we could see more real financial math being taught, I think that would spark a bit more connection for the average teenager who shuts down. If I have time for one example of how teenagers shut down in education.
Yeah,
there is such a thing as Pascal's triangle. Do you remember what Pascal's
triangle? Oh my God, I love Pascal's triangle. It's so cool.
I taught you in finite math. So it's a pattern. It's a triangle full of numbers with endless patterns. When my older son was in elementary school, I was invited by the teacher to come have a chat with the kids because I was a math teacher. So these kids are in grade 4, and, I'm trying to think, what can I do with them? I thought, okay, I'll start drawing Pascal's triangle, and I'll see if the kids pick up on the patterns. So it was a mixed class, so it was grade 4 and 5 students. So I'm drawing this chart with numbers 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, and I'm asking the students to start noticing patterns and contributing. I could not keep up writing the patterns and putting the rules down on the board as they were just jumping out of their seats to volunteer what they saw. This is not a lie. That same afternoon, I was teaching my OAC, which was grade 13 class, Pascal's triangle. I start putting the numbers on the board. One person says, oh, maybe. And it's like, that's life with teenagers, who are sometimes not really keen about sitting in class. So I really had to crank up my act to generate the same type of enthusiasm, or try to generate the same type of enthusiasm from high school kids as the little kids had. So kids love to learn. That's number one message here. So we need to keep them excited, and therefore teachers need to have a positive attitude. So math teachers would be helpful. In high school, we spend a gazillion, and that's a precise number, a gazillion hours studying parabolas and quadratics, and then they skip over the chapter on financial math. So what the heck?
And that's the most relevant to the kids.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, honestly, we are going to need to have a part 2 and now I have so many questions, just personal questions about how you feel about things in life that are math related, and now I kind of want to go do math knowing that I was so good at math apparently and so ahead of my time. I feel like I maybe should go learn some math.
I can teach you.
Oh my God, maybe I should learn something cool. Okay, we'll talk after. Eva, thank you so much. This was I knew it was going to be fun and funny, but I didn't realize how fun it was going to be. And you're just, I don't know. I know how cool I think you are, but this just reminded me, we don't often talk about teaching, this really reminded me why you're such a great teacher. Your students are so lucky to have you. And I just can't even imagine how many lives you've changed. And I'm so excited to do more stuff together in the math world. Love you so much. Thank you so much.
I love you too.
I'll call you later.
Okay. Bye, Vanessa. Thank you.
Bye.
Guys, are you crying? Because I am crying. And not just because now I'm low-key scared of what other report card comments are lurking in my parents' basement, because trust me, until I met Eva, high school was a dark scene for me, let me tell you. It truly is crazy how one person can totally change your life. And this doesn't just go for math teachers, but for anyone listening right now. The greatest gift you can give someone is the feeling that you believe in them. Seriously, try it today with anyone. You might just change a life. If something in this episode inspired you, please tweet us at Math Therapy, and you can also follow me personally at The Math Guru on Instagram or Twitter. Math Therapy is hosted by me, Vanessa Vicaria, produced by Sabina Wex, and edited by David Kochberg. Our theme song is Waves by Goodnight Sunrise, which is actually my band. If you know someone who needs math therapy or needs to hear someone else getting math therapy, please share this podcast and rate or review it on whatever podcast app you use. Those things actually make such a big difference. I am determined to change the culture surrounding math and to give math a massive makeover, and I truly need your help. So spread the word. That's all for this week. Stay tuned for our next episode out next Thursday.